All right, here we go with Unit 3. Only one set of vocabulary this unit, 16 words. You can handle that. Your due date will be in a couple weeks, so make sure you write down the due date that is posted in class. And remember, on that day, you will also have a vocab and documents quiz, which will be a Google form this unit. I know a lot of you like the Google form. It'll only be worth 20 points. This is a shorter unit, only about 3 weeks or so. We'll finish in December before our Finance Park field trip. So what do we got going on here? Remember, you're writing the definitions in now. The other two columns you're not doing right now. You're doing those for homework. Your definition or example, and then the colored visual or picture. And those will be due on the day of the quiz. All right, so our first word here is affirm. So this is something that's verbally stated or verbally or written down, and it's a factual information, or it's to confirm something. Something is provided. So a handshake is a good example there of affirm. All right, amend. You've heard of the amendments. We have 27 of them. The first 10 were the Bill of Rights, right, which were added to the Constitution in 1791. And remember, to amend is to add something, to reform it. It could be to alter, to change something. It could be to cancel or subtract something. But it's basically an addition to something else. You amend it. All right, you have an original thing, and then you go back and you amend it to make an edit or a change or an improvement. All right, domestic is the third word that usually means related to the home. If you hear of domestic policy, it's how our country, domestic, is dealing with things as opposed to international or global policy, foreign policy, right? But domestic could also be, domestic unit is your family unit. So it can also apply to your family. You might hear that word used in a couple different ways. All right, next is the word governed. So anyone living within a government, the people that are ruled within that government are called the governed. So we've talked about consent of the governed, right, as one of our fundamental principles of government. All right, next page we have a grievance. And a grievance is a complaint, an argument. And these are stated in the Declaration of Independence. Basically, the Declaration of Independence is going to be a list of grievances against the British king, and that's King George right there, that Thomas Jefferson and the Founding Fathers were referring to in that document. Okay, a complaint, an argument. All right, a guarantee, something that is 100% secured, something that has to happen. Okay, you see a lot of athletes say, I guarantee we're going to win. Don't do that, because if you don't win, then you got to eat those words. But a right could be guaranteed in a founding document, right? Some kind of right, like your First Amendment freedoms are guaranteed. Okay. Again, they're not absolute, though. They're not 100% absolute. There's limits, but they're guaranteed. All right, posterity is just another word for saying future generations of people. So right now, when you think of the posterity, you think of the young people, your age and younger, who are eventually going to be the leaders of our country. Scary, I know. All right, next. We have preamble. Preamble can be used. There's the preamble. The preamble, when we say that one, is the beginning of the Constitution with all the goals. We the people, in order to form a perfect union. Yeah, that. Okay, that's the preamble. But when we think of any preamble, is an introductory statement to a document that states the goals or the reasons that this document was written. That's what a preamble is. Okay. Next page, we got proposal. And I'm not talking about that kind of proposal in the picture, but when we're talking about the amendment process or even the bill to law process, the first step is that bill has to be proposed. It has to be introduced in order to get the ball rolling on the vote and on the debate. Okay. Ratify or ratification is the last step in the amendment process, or the last step in the lawmaking process. We're going to talk a little bit more about the amendment process this unit. And the final step is that at the national level, the U.S. level, 2/3 of each House of Congress and 3/4 of the state governments have to ratify or confirm an amendment for it to go into law, which is a very difficult process. It's a very complex process. That's why there's only 27 amendments in our Constitution. Okay. At the state level in Virginia, it's a majority of voters and majority of the General Assembly, our state government. So it's a little bit easier to amend our state constitution. All right, let's look at representative. Got the word represent right in there. So it's people we elect to make decisions on our behalf. Think about our representative government is one of our founding ideas or fundamental principles. We elect people to make decisions on our behalf because we have a representative democracy, not a direct democracy. All right, reside. You almost see the word resident there. So you should think, when you think of resident as someone who lives in an area, think of reside as a power that lives somewhere, that resides somewhere. So it can be a concept like with the Articles of Confederation, individual states is where the powers resided. They had more of the power than the national government. Now we have kind of a balance of power. The national government is supreme. We have some powers that reside with the states and some with the local governments or localities. All right, we have a statute. Bless you. Statute is a form of law that is written by a government. The statute, bless you, of religious freedom was written by Thomas Jefferson. That basically said that church and state should be separated and that people should have that idea of religious freedom and for freedom from government control over religion. All right, we got tranquility. Tranquility is domestic tranquility, right? Peace at home, one of our goals of the preamble. So tranquility, peace, or a state of relaxation, when we think of it, domestic tranquility, peace at home. Okay, unalienable, unable to be taken away, life, liberty, pursuit, happiness. Thomas Jefferson stated the unalienable rights in the Declaration of Independence. This is, again, the grievances against the king that were stated. These are given at birth, unable to be taken away. And our last word for this topic is going to be welfare. Promote the general welfare, overall health and well-being. So you think of President Obama with his Affordable Health Care Act. That's where kind of he was focusing on in the preamble and in the Constitution was this idea of general welfare. You can see from this image, promote the general welfare on this statue. All right, so now your task is to complete the vocab for homework. You can always rewatch this. You can always find another copy on Google Classroom. And if you have questions, you can let me know, and I'll be there for you. All right.